We have attorney Chris Hood with us, Patrick Knight, Mike Roth, Kim Dunsmore, Craig Schulte, Ben Peters, and myself. Open forum. I'm assuming you're not here for open forum.
No.
I didn't think so.
I'm on the agenda.
Indeed are.
I thought so. So that means we have no one here for open forum. Move on to the consent agenda. Any questions around the bills or the meeting minutes or anything that way? Kind of quiet. Would anyone like to make a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second?
Second.
All in favor? All approved?
Aye.
All right. Takes care of that. Now, we're on to the insurance renewal.
Where would you like me here?
Yeah, that's fine.
Just
Right next to Mike.
Thank you for having me. Thanks for putting me on the agenda. And
And just introduce yourself for the audience for the recording.
my name is Bob Cummings. I'm the manager of Security State Insurance in Grand Marais here, and I am the agent of record for the city of Grand Marais with the League of Minnesota Cities and their insurance package. I do have a handout for everyone here.
Thanks.
What I handed out was just a summary of the insurance renewal premiums, and I thought it would be a good outline for us to use just to kind of briefly go through the coverages, address some of the issues and optional quotes that I have, and then I would, be open for questions or any concerns that you might have. To start off with, Kim and I have been working together. We went through a renewal process earlier in July and August. And there's a pretty lengthy renewal application, and Kim did a nice job of completing that, submitting it to the league. And my job is to review that, have discussions on some of the issues, and submit it finally to the league. And we had requested some optional coverages on that renewal application. It took some time to get the league to get back to us, but the coverages were bound 8/1, and there are coverages in place now. I think they're waiting for us to make some decisions on these optional coverages before they actually issue the coverage forms, the policies, but coverage is in place at this time. The first part of the coverage summary that I wanted to address was the property coverage. And overall, the premiums are up, I would say considerably from last year. I would say that the overall premium is up about $9,000 to $10,000 from last year. The majority of it is in the property coverage. It's just been a rough few years for the league and most insurance companies in the state of Minnesota with property claims, hail, weather-related claims, and it's been a rough couple of years. So the property is up about $5,000 to $6,000 in premium, which is over 10% from last year. The biggest effect on rates was on the larger metal expanse type roofs. Those types of metal buildings are what are getting the biggest rate increase. They've actually gone as far as applying, as a change this year, a 30% cosmetic damage copay on some of these larger metal roofs. So if you have a large hail claim and it beats up that metal roof on the shop up there pretty bad, they'll replace that roof, but they're going to charge a 30% copay on it. So just to kind of give you a heads up on that, the property rates have taken a pretty good hit this year. The next part, and this is kind of a new premium, this mobile property, and what happened is when Kim was going through the application, she had listed a loader, a newer, I think a 644 John Deere loader, or I believe that was the model, for $167,000. And we had talked about it, and the league automatically provides $250,000 for your mobile equipment. I was going to remove it. I think I missed it, but they rated it anyway. So there's a $167,000 loader that probably doesn't need to be scheduled there, and that premium can probably be removed. The policy reads that they will pay the cost to repair the mobile equipment, or 2 times the fair market value or the replacement cost on this equipment up to $250,000, and that's automatically included in the package. So I would recommend removing that on the schedule, and I think Kim and I had agreed on that, and I think I missed it. So we can probably eliminate that $2,900 in premium. And that's per item, so there's, even if all the equipment was, out at one time and it all got wiped out at the same time or something like that, you would still have plenty of coverage for that. The next part is this first-party cyber, and this is something that they include on every policy. We don't have an option to take it off or add it. This is automatically added, and they charge you for it. And this is the city's coverage if there is a hack or a breach or something that, interruption that caused the shutdown of your computer system or data processing system, your computers. And this will pay up to $250 to repair, replace, or get you back operating. It also provides coverage for notification, bringing in professional tech people to help solve the problem. If there was a ransom or something that was placed on your system, they would help negotiate something like that. But it is your first party. This is your coverage up to $250,000. And they'll charge, and we cannot remove that coverage. The next part is your municipal liability. This is the city's liability. We've elected not to waive our tort liability limits. So we are, not, or are limited to $500,000 per occurrence, or per claim, $1.5 million per occurrence, as far as the state of Minnesota's tort liability limits for municipalities. Your policy does provide $2 million per occurrence, and also limits higher than that for several items, which would include your products, if you were providing products up to $3 million, system security breach claim up to $3 million. Now that's your, I would say, third-party cyber. If you had a breach and someone suing you, or you're liable for losing data. I would imagine through your Public Utilities Commission that you are billing people's accounts and maybe doing auto pay on some of these accounts and all this. So we do have data that is sensitive, and that is your third party. I believe it would be called third party, but this is your liability for a breach in that system. There are, let's see, other liability issues like liquor liability. We do have a separate liquor liability policy, which is separate from the municipal liability, and that's $1 million liability limit. And you can see the price for that. That's your off sale, and it also includes some on sale. The fire department or the relief association.
No, the golf course.
The golf course. Okay, so I think there are some special events for the fire department during,
Not where we provide the.
okay. If you needed some, we could do that. I know a lot of municipalities do allow their relief association at beer gardens or whatever, so that is an option through that liquor policy. We have the auto liability. That is basically providing auto liability coverage, hired non-owned auto, and just about any liability. It's a auto symbol 1, which means any auto that would cause a city suit would be covered. And then the physical damage for the auto. We do have a bond, and that's your employee dishonesty bond. Some of the other municipal bonds that are required up to $300,000. This would cover any one that handles money. It also includes the relief association and the fire department, because I know sometimes they have fundraisers, and I don't know if they're involved in pull tabs at all. Do you know, Kim, or?
No.
No? Are there any pull tabs at all in the city?
Yeah, it's run by the Snowmobile Club,
The Snowmobile Club.
local.
But the city's not involved in pull tabs.
Nope.
Sometimes they require for some of these licenses to have a bond, a surety bond, and that would provide those coverages. The insuring agreement for the city and the league, with the league, is pretty comprehensive. It includes city employees, fire relief association, the city administrators and board of directors, even volunteers as far as their liability. So it is fairly comprehensive. It's a comprehensive insuring agreement. So it does include that, and also liability for those different parts entities. The last part here would be $500 for the fireworks. They charge, I think that's 2 events, they charge $250 for the fireworks.
I think we need the third event, because we have 4th of July, Fisherman's Picnic, and then Christmas.
That's right.
That's right after Thanksgiving.
Yep. I think it's $500 because this Fisherman's Picnic was shortly after, and then the Christmas event, and then we probably need to add that 4th of July on for next year.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yep.
On the back page, the first thing I want to address is this equipment breakdown coverage. We haven't had equipment breakdown coverage, and we're quoting a number of different options. One thing with the city's property insurance is it limits coverage on the power plant at Lupin Lane. And this limitation endorsement is going to eliminate artificial generated electric current or arcing and a mechanical breakdown, okay? So there's basically no mechanical breakdown or coverage for a power surge or something like that at that location. So, that when we're quoting this generation plant, electrical generation plant, that is it's basically buying those perils back on that generation equipment. So it's quite expensive. Not only does it provide you the replacement value on the equipment itself if it were to break down, or if there was a power surge and blow out a generator or your computer system or electrical equipment there. It also provides for loss of income if you were to have a loss of income because of that. So you could be without power for a month and you're not going to be able to charge your customers for that power. Or whatever it might take, but it could be expensive to rebuild that generation equipment. I don't know. I'm just, I guess, trying to explain why it might be, why it's so expensive, because of that exposure that you have. You're responsible for the generation of electricity in town.
So does it cover if there was a tornado or flooding or that?
Yes, it does. I mean, right now, we have fire coverage. I think we have that power plant insured for 5.3 million or whatever the limit was, you know. We have fire coverage, we have wind, we have, vandalism, all kinds of different perils. We have whatever could happen to it, except through this limitation endorsement, they eliminate that those perils of artificially generated electrical current, including arcing, and that includes your electrical services and appliance and wires. But the exclusion does not apply to computer equipment, electronic data, and if a fire were to result because of that electric current, you'd still have fire coverage. So you still have coverage there, but if it were a breakdown or a mechanical breakdown, you would not, you know. So the fire coverage is always going to be there, the wind coverage is always going to be there, but this would buy that mechanical breakdown coverage back. So.
Okay, so it is not normal wear and tear, it'd be something that
Yes,
might
it's.
expose terribly.
Yes, it's not normal wear and tear. It would be a power surge and an explosion or something like that, or things wear out. But this is not. This is covering a mechanical breakdown that's not normal to wear and tear. Yeah. And it is a diesel generating plant. I'm assuming, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep, and it's more of a standby
Mm-hmm.
than,
Then, yeah, because you're buying electricity coming in from other places, right? And
Right.
this would be a backup generation plant. That seems like an awfully expensive premium, but I just want to let you know. The other part is the equipment breakdown for other properties and other than the generating plant, and we don't have that now. And for $2,561, we can buy that peril back. Now, this is a little bit trickier because we have a $20,000 deductible, and a lot of that. So, for example, in your municipal liquor store, your compressors go out, you just replaced the compressors a couple of years ago, they go out and you have, it's down. Okay, that could be expensive, maybe $2,000-3,000 to replace, but we have a $20,000 deductible, so that would not apply. it would have to be something a little more substantial than compressors in the liquor store. I did put a list together here. Wastewater system equipment, pumps and agitators that broke down. Well, we talked about the air conditioning, refrigeration, and heating equipment, water systems, pumps and motors, electrical wiring, breakers, transformers, telephones, computers. There's a compressor for filling fire department air packs. Those are just items that could be covered under that equipment breakdown. Steam boilers and other pressure vessels. So
on the equipment breakdown for the generation plant,
yeah,
is that first the line 25,000 per occurrence, 100,000 per year?
yeah, per policy year, yeah. Not a huge savings going, the other, going to higher deductibles on that. And you may want to discuss that with an engineer or someone that, your plant manager or something like that, just to kind of get an idea what exposures you have with that generator. Any questions on the equipment breakdown? The other part that I'm quoting is this excess liability, which includes the liquor. That's a $1 million excess liability policy. And it is in excess of your current $2 million limit. And your $1 million limit on the liquor. Now, the tort liability limit is going to cover most of your liabilities that the city is going to encounter. One thing that isn't included is the liquor in that tort limit. So this would be in excess of that. Some of the other, mostly federal civil suits, which is like the American Disabilities Act and some of these other federal civil acts are not covered, are not typical tort liability. Maybe Chris, as the attorney, might have a few more examples, but that excess liability is in excess of all of your liabilities. When you have 500,000 per occurrence limit and a 1.5 million aggregate, this would add to that aggregate on your liability limits. So it's in excess of all of your liabilities, but more so where you wouldn't be limited to a tort liability.
So is this different than not waiving the limits?
No, this is not, this is different, yeah, than not waiving, because we are not waiving. We're still going to be, I guess, limited to that 500,000 per occurrence, okay? But this is adding on even though we do not waive that limit. This is adding on primarily for those claims that are not considered tort liability, which is like a liquor liability. So if you have some sales on sale at the golf course and someone, for example, is served too much alcohol and gets in a serious car accident and there's multiple injuries or something, $1 million may not be enough, and this would be in excess of that. So I think that's, to be honest with you, I think that's where your greatest exposure is. I don't know, but if you're selling liquor, that's would be,
That premium is double what we sell in liquor
yeah.
At the golf course.
at the golf
Oh,
course.
at the golf course.
Yeah, and it's kind of reflective of your premium in general, because right now your premium's $15,000 for $2 million limit. So you're adding another limit, $1 million for $7,100. So it's kind of reflective of that.
Did we really add 30 sewer connections? Just a question.
Pointing weird.
Yeah, and, to that point, the liability is up because of our expenditures and
Yeah.
some of your sewer connections and households.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, for sure we did not add 30 sewer connections.
And I don't know what that breaks down, but
I don't know what's included in that statistic.
Where is it?
looks like added 5 households, but I see 29
It's
sewer connections.
in the packet after his email. There's a page with a table on the top half. And
I imagine it came off the application at some
Yeah.
level.
I need to double check
It could have been
that.
a typo.
So down in the part of that paragraph,
Down in there.
Yeah, that's worth double checking.
And then our mod rating increased. Does that mean that we had some liability losses last year that would
That
have
library flooding,
been a property loss? I don't know.
Yeah, that and
Right?
I did print off some loss runs. There were a couple of smaller trips and falls, I think.
Oh, okay.
but that shouldn't be on our property.
No, it'd be a
He's talking about
liability.
liability.
Yeah. We have a $20,000 deductible, so I don't know if it's based on number of claims or what it might be.
Sure.
We did have some sewer claims, some backups, which they paid out on.
Yeah.
We had this flooding in the library, which was fairly substantial. But the others are sewer main backups.
Okay.
There's been a
Would be
couple of
liability,
those.
Yeah.
Any questions at all on the insurance? I would like to say there has been, just some question of our role as an agent in the servicing of the insurance, and I do want to say that we're here for assistance in doing the renewal process, going through the applications, getting the information needed for the renewal, working with the league to get the renewal quote and the applications out. We do a lot of servicing where we can do the ID cards and get the help with the fireworks questionnaires, get the fireworks coverage in place. We also we're here to help with claims, and that's kind of the most important thing, filing claims, handling claims, and making sure the claims are paid out properly, and helping you with gathering information, whatever it might be. We're here to help analyze the coverages, answer questions on the renewals, and help, give some optional quotes at the renewals to make sure you're informed of what coverages are available out there and what you might need for your city operations. So we are a direct channel to the league, and we're here to service the account.
So our main questions this evening are the optional.
What's that?
And let's set aside the equipment breakdown. We don't need to talk about that tonight.
Oh, I just said our main question is the optional tonight, then, right? Did I review it? And you said set aside which of the equipment, Mike?
Just all the equipment breakdown
all
list.
of it.
I don't think you need to worry about that tonight.
Okay. So that just gets us back to that excess liability
Yes.
then? Okay. Okay.
We do insure several municipalities in central and east central Minnesota in this one, and I can tell you a couple of them do the umbrella liability. The ones that have municipal liquor stores do. Some of the smaller municipalities do not, just because of their exposures are somewhat limited. So that's just a reference for you. I'm not swaying you one way or another.
Any thoughts, Kim?
My thought is it wouldn't be the excess. That's more than our off-sale sales for starters.
Yeah, at the golf course. The liquor store is the bigger source of that risk. But our best insurance policy is good training and good business practices.
I think, I agree. I think your off-sale liquor is a lot less exposure than on-sale liquor.
Yeah.
Because they come in and they go out. Not saying that you couldn't get somehow involved in a suit if someone has a 12-pack of beer or whatever from the municipal liquor store bag and gets in an accident. Everyone's gonna get named in a suit that's been involved, but your exposures are a lot less. And like you said, good training and IDing is the best way to go.
Ben,
You probably can't talk about this, Ben,
at all? Or,
unfortunately.
At all about insurance at all?
Well, if you're going to make an opinion about a spending decision on this item, I would recommend that
Okay.
you recuse yourself.
Okay, I will recuse myself.
okay. Craig?
On the power plant, what's Simca's role in that?
In the liability side,
Well,
I mean, they don't provide insurance for us.
okay.
They have given us alternative coverage options just as advice. Other people have used other companies, and we've looked at other policies. We talked to them about that kind of question. What's the best practice? What are other places doing? They don't really tell us what and how to insure the plant.
Okay.
We've spent a lot of money fixing the plant in its 20-year life, and not a single one of those events would have been covered by any of these coverages.
Right.
And even if it had been, it would have been, I think, deductible type expenses. So this is one of those, and boy, we spent some time reading through some of these policies, trying to figure out what the heck they even do cover, because they exclude a lot of stuff that are the things that we care about, the things that we've talked about already tonight. The building burns down, right? That needs to get covered. But to come up with a scenario where something really specific happens that creates a very big loss, I mean, it must exist, but it's just not, the risk of it is pretty small the way we operate that plant. It doesn't operate, 50 hours a year. So it's just I think we've got the coverage that we need already without the equipment breakdown that's included here. But I think we'll keep talking about that, and we'll go back and talk to our partners in Simply, on a regular basis about that too.
If something catastrophic did happen to that and it just was gone, I mean, would it be something worth reinvesting in, or would that
Absolutely.
be sort of the end of it?
No, it would be
Okay.
worth reinvesting in. I mean, first of all, it's just a great value to the community to have it. There's been some outages countywide lately that I think we've just been in a much better position in the city limits because of the power plant. Second of all, it's an important part of SIMPA's strategy for providing capacity. So they have to provide not just energy, but capacity to the market. And they have a number of members that have that type of power plant that capacity is worth money. To us, it's worth $218,000 a year that we get paid just to have that plant available for them to run. So,
Okay.
yeah, it would be, and they're looking for more capacity of that type. So if it disappeared, we would definitely talk about replacing it.
I think they're leaning on the end of the transmission line,
Mm-hmm.
makes it important.
It's even important to outside the city limits, the county, that, Great River Energy also has a plant in the county that isn't large enough to run the entire county in a January cold night. So it's part of a package to try and take care of everybody.
Do you have any joint powers agreements with any of these other,
I wouldn't say
Yeah.
joint powers
Right.
agreements, no. And it's since we sell the capacity to SEMPA, we're not actually even parties to
right,
some of the agreements.
right. Just kind of an agreement that you're gonna help
Yeah.
each other out when
Yep.
the time comes. Do you have any joint powers agreements? I don't think there's an agreement with the county for police services.
For law enforcement, for library services,
Yeah.
for street maintenance services.
Are they
community
official
center.
joint powers agreements?
Mhm.
So I think technically we should have our joint powers agreements listed on the policy to make sure there's liability coverage, and I don't know if they require that in those joint powers or, so,
I think mostly it's about how much money one is paying the other.
yeah. So they're financial arrangements, and contracts that way. Well, for example, the city of Aiken has a joint powers agreement officially with the airport, so they both own the operation of that and the buildings there, the county and the city, and they both utilize those, the airport and the facilities. So that is something that the league takes into account when it charges for liability and these things. So,
We don't co-own any property with the county.
No.
you kind of contract for their services, and
Yeah.
Yeah.
that's basically about it.
And they're for our services.
Yeah, for your services.
Yep.
Any more questions?
I have none.
No, are we actually deciding this at this very moment, or are you contemplating this for a little bit?
Well, you don't, I mean, the coverage that is not optional is in place.
Right. that
The other
I meant.
coverage is optional, you could add it at any time, so you don't have to decide it if you don't want to right
That's what I
now.
meant, and we're down to just really the top line.
Yeah, and we're not necessarily recommending it, it's just something that they proposed.
Okay, I just didn't know if you wanted us to take action now.
I don't need you to do
I
anything.
think
yeah.
right now. Okay?
The one thing is the mobile equipment. Is it okay if I remove that item from the list? Because it's expensive, and it's
That drops it.
not necessary.
It's $3,000.
Okay.
That's what you're looking at. 76.
Well, if that's it, I'll leave you guys back to your rest of your meeting and your business. So thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Bob.
Yeah, Kim, I do have some ID cards here for you.
Okay.
Um,
If you can give me-
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, Bob.
Have a good evening.
Thank you.
All right, we're back to budget.
We are back to budget. A careful eye might notice that the resolution totals are slightly higher than the totals included in the spreadsheets that follow them.
And the dates.
The spreadsheets that follow them were the same ones that you looked at last time we had the meeting, and dated at the end of August. Yeah, we'll also change the date to 2023 of September, if you decide to pass this resolution. The change is just under $6,000 total difference increase from what we looked at last time to what is included in this proposed resolution. And that is entirely an increase in medical insurance premiums that we built in based on conversations with our medical insurance agent, that because of some experience rating type situations this year, we might expect it to be higher than we had built into the original budget. We built 10% into the original budget and 20% into this proposed resolution. Since the first kind of concern, I think our numbers have moderated a bit, so that's good news. That could change at a moment's notice. And also, you might think, boy, 10% difference in insurance is only $5,500. What's going on here? Most of our full-time employees are probably being paid out of different funds, such as utility funds or the liquor fund or other things like that. So that's why it's not very many of our insured that are being paid by the property tax levy. I think really the only variable that's worth talking about left is in the draft budget summary, you can see the rec park revenues number is $1,526,750. That's the number that we talked about with Dave tonight. That's the number that was in the original proposal. We're pretty sure we're going to beat it solidly this year. He's suggesting maybe by as much as $50,000. Even if we have a horrible year next year, we would think that flat is the worst we've done. Like I said, in 15-year history, a flat year-to-year is the worst we've done. Wasn't even flat from 2019 to 2020. It was a little bit up in 2020. So if we make $1,575,000 this year, that's probably a reasonable expectation to imagine for 2024 as well. So this is a conservative number, and where it leaves us is at not 6.5, but just over 7% increase at $1,079,36, which is the number that's included in the resolution. Slightly over 7% increase over last year's number. Because it's pretty close to $1 million, 1% of that is $10,000, right? It's actually almost $11,000. So that $50,000 number is just over 4% levy increase, what we're talking about. If it was added into the park revenue, it would decrease that 7% number to about 3%. Now, if that's an important mark for you to hit in this preliminary levy, I just wanted to make sure that you understood that that mechanism exists. My recommendation is that you don't use all of it. You don't even have to use any of it. This is our preliminary levy. This is the number that you can't go over. When we come back in December, that's the actual number that we're going to charge people.
Sure.
And considering all of the fairly large projects that we're currently working on and the significant effects they could even have on our operating budget next year, I think it's worth holding on to that conservative viewpoint for a couple more months. $50,000 is also, you know, a bad month in the liquor store in August, and we lose $50,000. So it's typically the first, say, 10 years I was here, we were always conservative with that number.
Yeah.
The past 10, we've tried to be a little less conservative with our budgeting on the revenue side at the rec park and really get it a little closer to what we imagined. But I think this is a good year to go back to being a little more conservative, which is why I'm proposing the resolution at just over 7% right now. While you're thinking about that, we had a capital improvement plan estimate at about $6 million for the City Hall Liquor Store project the last time we looked at how we're going to pay for it. I bumped it up to $8 million based on your last numbers. The sources that we plan on using to pay the $8 million are $1 million in cash from the liquor fund. It has about $1.3 million in cash right now, about $1.5 million in total value right now. So that's most of it. And but not all of it, because again, I think we need to stay just slightly conservative on the liquor operations without really understanding what next year is going to look like. $1.75 million from general fund cash. There's about $4 million right now in unallocated cash in the general fund. And so we're talking about using close to half of that to not borrow for this project. This is money we've set aside for this project instead. Borrow $5 million of the 8, and then the remaining $250 is a grant that we hope to get. There could be other grant opportunities that could also write that down. I expect that price, frankly, to go up a little bit too, so I'm hoping that we're going to offset that with some other grant opportunities. But that $5 million, I think, is a realistic, it's not the number, but it's a number that we can make this project go with if we borrowed $5 million. And Ellers ran numbers for us on if we borrowed $5 million, what's it going to cost us to pay it back? And it's about $360,000 a year for a 15-year.
360?
Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe that was a 20-year. I don't know if we talked him up to a 20-year, but I better check. That's an important distinction.
I think it was, but I'm not sure. I thought
So you think 50, not 15? I mean 20, not 15?
I'm going to just check quick.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a 20-year payback. And 20 years is what we've tried to do for these really larger items, just because, that's a big chunk.
Big.
$360,000 a year is about what that runs to borrow $5 million, the price that it costs us. Now, that's a shot in the dark number from him.
That's right.
And you know how Ellers has been with us. They've been very good about staying conservative on their estimates for us as well, but the market changes, and we don't know if that's what it would end up being by the time we borrowed the money. But if we go back to the estimates of you know, what does our budget look like for the next 3 years, and how would we absorb that payment? We had $350,000 in that look of, okay, we're going to add in 2025 a new $350,000 debt payment. So that's what we were anticipating originally. Even when it was at 6 million, that's the number that we had put in place. So we'll dig into that with a lot more detail. We'll look at those sources and our balances, and we'll look at the payback in the future. But before you set this number, I just didn't want you to think like we have no idea if this is enough. The levy, the revenue that levy that's in front of you now it's enough to include that $360,000 payment beginning in 2025. So how do we get there? The biggest piece of it is in your existing budget right now, the line item that we call it a lot of different things depending upon where it lives, but in this spreadsheet we call it special projects, and it's $175,000 in the current year's budget, and it's $225,000 in the proposed 2024 budget. This special projects number is the place where we've used it to kind of make sure that the levy number stays smooth over the years rather than jumps up when we have a $360,000 addition. So it helps us accumulate that $4 million that's in the bank right now, although I'd say most of that's probably from overachieving at the rec park in the last 20 years, but it also then is going to go away from the expense line item and instead go right into the payment of the bond when that happens. The rest of it's coming from additional rec park revenues being built into the budget on an annual basis of $40,000 to $50,000 a year. Additional liquor revenues after a new store is open that we're hoping again is $40,000 to $50,000 a year, and at least that, and the removal of this line item. So we can afford this with a look ahead that's suggesting 6% more increase over the next 2 years in the levy, as long as all of the things kind of stay on this plane. That's hats off to us for thinking about this project for an awfully long time.
Right.
and planning ahead and getting it to a place where it's not going to be a big jolt.
So 6% levy this year, 6% next year.
6 this year, 3.5 and 2.5 really is kind of what it looks like for the next 2 years. Now that's a really rough,
exactly.
rough look ahead.
Yeah, right.
The way that's built is saying our expenses are going to go up 3-ish% on average over the next 2 years. And we know that our wages in 2025 are going to go up 3%. Other things could go up a lot more. Some things could go up less. And it's not taking into account service level changes or, if we decide to make big changes to a lot of other things we're talking about right now.
Sure.
So it's kind of just if all other things stay equal,
It's possible.
this works out.
So, looking at the line item of special projects,
Yeah.
then I go to the line above for debt service, that's 500,000, which I originally had assumed was, which I was gonna ask you, was this cost, but you're saying it'd only be 360, so what is the difference there?
The debt service levy is about $297,000. So
This year, and then 797 budgeted.
Yeah, the 797 is an expense. If you look at how much of that goes to the property tax levy, that's the far right column.
Mm-hmm.
It's 297. So the rest of that's being paid by things that are not property taxes. That's our total bond, like debt
Thank you.
payments that we're going to
Yep.
make.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got
The rest
it.
of it's coming probably mostly from utility rates.
Okay.
And then you see some blank spaces in the rest of that table. There are other pieces of this budget that we haven't filled in yet. They don't change the property tax in any way, and so we don't need them for this conversation tonight.
Mhm.
Is there the possibility of using any of the water, sewer, electric funds to buy down that 5 million?
Water sewer, absolutely not. We kind of used up all the cash we had to spend on projects in those funds, and they've got more projects coming. Electric, maybe. And it's a realistic conversation because the way we do our operating budgets even, the electric fund is paying a significant double-digit percentage of our administrative staff time. We charge them a price for renting the space. I think it's an easy argument to make that the main operation going on in that space is utility.
Sure. Okay.
So we can consider that in the intervening time to make the final.
Yeah.
Well, I think
It's
another
5 million
thing
over
to
20
consider
years, the
is
interest alone is like-
we've got that 360 payment in this budget as a debt payment, right? That the property taxes are picking up. But how much of that might be additional revenue from the electric fund? That we either just charge them a percentage of this debt payment for the building, or we increase the amount that we're taking off the top as a percentage payment of the taxes, or maybe both. So, yeah, I think there are still other ways to think about how to split this up.
Sure. Okay. Thank you for running through that. That's helpful.
Will we have the actual insurance numbers before year end, for sure?
Oh, before year end? Yes.
Yeah, okay. I thought so, but.
We usually get them in September, October.
Oh, so shortly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just
okay.
not in time for the preliminary levy.
Okay. Because we put in 20%, right? You went the most,
Yeah.
yeah. The most conservative.
Yes.
Okay, so those are our main potential changes then.
I think I might be missing something in this resolution too.
Okay.
Who wants to do math with me? Eight 24, 34, 58, 86, 117. That definitely does not add up to 1,079,000.
No, it's too.
That is 1,122,000. 1,122,000, 197 and 20 cents.
So 122,
197 and 20 cents. Got the 20 cents on there. That's good. That didn't change.
$1.22?
Yeah. 1.122.
Oh, 122. Okay, thank you.
So all the numbers above that are correct. Those are all the
Right.
right numbers. It's just it's not
The-
summed correctly.
Yeah, just the total. And then it's still 36.2.
I was looking at that, I was like, that's really only a 4% levy, I don't know, 7% is going.
And it's a straight 7%.
Low, 7.19, I think, or something.
Okay.
I think.
Which you don't have I guess you don't have the
It's not in
percentage in
there.
there, you just have the straight numbers, but.
Yeah. What do you think, Craig?
So what are we looking at for, what's the exact, 7?
I don't think that anything's exact.
Well, I mean,
Oh, right.
for practical,
Yep.
yeah, 'cause then
Right around.
around 7 instead of the 6.49.
Why did I just hear the county just approved theirs? Tried to remember what I heard, and I've already forgotten.
I didn't see any coverage of
They had it was on
6
the
and a
radio.
half or.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, so you just verbally pop in the numbers.
If everybody's got that total right, and then we're changing the date to 2023 at the bottom.
Would anyone like to make a motion for resolution 2023-18 with a total of 1.122,197 and 20 cents for a total for the preliminary tax levy?
So moved.
I'll second that.
Okay. Any other questions or discussion?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And all in favor for resolution 2023-18?
Aye.
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 Thank you. We'll keep working on this. There's lots more to talk about for the next couple months.
Hopefully, all we can do is go down from here.
Well, that's.
That is
Once
the
it's a
direction
good
y'all
thing.
went.
That's the only way to dig.
Normally, it doesn't sound like a good thing, but Craig, did you have any reports?
Yeah, I had a park board meeting, and I think we kind of talked about it already tonight as far as the 2 versions that are out there now of the master plan. And like Dave said, before our park board meeting, October 3rd, there will be an open meeting here. If anybody wants to come in and have, well, you can make comments on it right now, but we have two preliminary layouts, different ways, things to do to the park. I'm sure some things people are happy with. I like some of it I don't like. But if you put the 2 together, you kind of, at least you get an idea of what's possible down there, and opens your eyes up to some different things, which is kind of nice. That's the main part of it, I think. Let's see, what else have we, yeah, park board. Yeah, anyway, we talked about a lot of stuff with the golf course here tonight. What else? Oh, we're switching, the park is switching over to a different platform to do their reservations, and I think that's gonna save us $2 a reservation. I mean, it helps, so, I mean, we have that $10 policy, but anyway, instead of paying 5, we're gonna be paying 3 out of our pocket. So that'll help a little bit on the reservations by switching over to a new platform called Firefly. More streamlined, user-friendly online booking. And I'm not sure. Oh, was that, is that implemented yet? Next month?
Yeah, I don't think so.
Yeah, this fall, so we're fall already, but time's for going by fast. Anyway, that's about with the rec park. What else did we have? Well, Public Utilities had a meeting, and we had some preliminary discussions on connection fees. And we tabled it for our next meeting, but we are considering some different things as far as I think our hookup fees are gonna probably stay the same. I don't know, but we do have these fees currently in place. $1,000 per connection for sanitary sewer and $1,000 per residence. Those are fees that the city charges to hook up, and we're considering, it's a facility fee, so we are considering not charging those anymore. That's a possibility, so we had a good discussion about that. And we'll be voting on that next meeting we have. The fees have already been, the fees have always been considered general revenue. They go into the general revenue, they don't really go into the sewer water fund, and we look at how much money we collect off of those per year, and what did we,
We budget about 10,000 a
Yeah,
year. to
we
collect
budget about
facility
5
fees.
hookups a year, it's roughly $10,000, so I guess we're kind of looking at, are we doing things to limit or slow down possible development of lands within our city? Or is there things we can do to help financially, maybe in some, not all situations, but in some situations that fee might be an extra burden to somebody who's hooking up our building. I mean, I don't know, there's all kinds of ways to look at it, but the way we look at it is it's not a huge money generating thing for the city, so is it something we need to do?
Yeah, it probably needs to be significantly higher to actually accomplish the
Right.
purpose that we say that it's for.
Right.
And do we need to do that or not is the question. So it's kind of stuck in the middle right now.
Right.
So either we need to get serious about it and have it be higher, or maybe we shouldn't have it at all.
And the city traditionally tries to, like with the hookup fee, when the guy when our city guys have to go out and hook up and do something, we're trying to cover their costs, is what we're trying to do. And those fees are $300 for electric and $300 for sewer right
Well,
now.
water and sewer each 300, yeah.
Yeah, for
They're
water,
also-
sewer, yeah.
Whatever it costs someone to connect is their own expense.
Right, they pay extra, the homeowner would pay extra, like for digging in lines and those types of things, but we do try to cover our guys' time with that $300 charge. So that's still in place. And also, like we've talked about, once a person hooks up and they're online, there's also a meter fee that they pay each month, so we do collect money monthly from the water meter, electric meter. So we also have those fees built in already, so. Anyway, that's about everything I have, I guess. I don't think we talked about anything else at the public utilities. That was pretty much, yeah, that's it.
We didn't have anything, we had a planning and zoning special meeting today, I think, but I didn't.
We
wasn't
actually
able to attend.
Didn't have it.
Okay, didn't have a quorum.
because You were not the only one.
Okay.
Yeah, we're shoestring, folks. What's going on here? It's been a rough
Yeah.
rough patch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, where's everybody?
Okay. the relief grant that Shane's been doing a lot of work on is due Monday, and he's done a really good job. We've gotten several letters of support. We've got a lot of other outside groups helping in, adding their expertise. We're going to meet tomorrow and go over a few more things. And it's due on Monday. And Shane and I went to the park board meeting last time and just gave them an awareness because it could involve some park stuff. So excited. I hope that goes through. Patrick and I are working with Todd Ford, who does the county and hospital communications. And we're still working on that, which we think now will be maybe a bi-monthly communication, like every other month. Make sure I say that right. Just to let all of our legislators and the IRRR know what's going on in the county. So it'd be a joint thing. That's why Todd's helping us. And different groups could maybe give a little headline or a little blurb of something of interest. It's not a laundry list of status thing, but whatever. And then maybe a couple cool events going on in our community. But anyways, Todd and Patrick are doing a lot of work, and excited to get that going and introduce it out to everyone and give that a try. Build some relationships and make their jobs easier, I think. Today I got a note from Andrea Orr, so I'm just going to spread the word. I was going to have it put up on the screen, but whatever. They are setting up, this is from the county's Department of Public Health and Services, they're setting up a substance use prevention coalition to look and see what substance concerns exist locally, what are the risk factors, how to address this, what is the community's readiness for any of these programs or educational items, and then developing strategies. So the general public is more than welcome if anyone's interested in joining, and you can contact Andrea if you'd like to participate. Getting ready for those work sessions for our joint agreements. I wanted to ask all of you, the county meets a lot during the day, which I don't think works for everyone here. If I proposed like a 5:30 again on a Wednesday, would that work for people, for the council? I know we have some of them already used for other things, but I would say when our stuff was done.
Yeah, 5:30 works good for me.
Kind of see, I don't know what, I'll just offer something, but I just knew we couldn't be busy, meeting during the day. So I was going to make sure we offered something, off time. Okay. Had a conversation, which I know Mike's done a lot of work already with him, with developer John Petters, who's interested in the property. We call it, what mountain do you usually used to call that up there above Everson's? Doesn't they have a name for that? No, the little mountain.
Oh, yeah, it was,
Shouldn't have started this.
It had a name.
I
Yeah.
used to slide down it all the time.
Is it birch?
Birch Mountain.
Mountain.
Yeah.
Birch.
There we go.
Birch Mountain.
And those Birch Drive people took it away. Now Birch Mountain's not even in town anymore. What's going on?
Yeah, what is this? So
It was Birch Mountain.
he is looking at some development there, and he's getting some guidance from Jason Hale. I talked to Jason today. I scaled it back from 28 to 19. And then what? You guys are all having a big meeting, I think, in October. And he's got an engineer just coming up now to take a look at the reality of this. So anyways, just heads up on that one. And then, do we have a card?
We
for
do.
Afterwards? Okay, we'll do that after the meeting. Okay, yeah, that's, I think all I had.
I got an update here from Jacob Baker. Yulin Bros Construction, Yulin Brothers Construction, will be completing water and sewer service from 3rd to 5th Street at the end of this week. And they're planning to do a 3-foot subcut. That's where they remove all the material and get it all the same so it packs nicely before they put out the new pavement starting next week. And that's between,
Hopefully they start at second.
yeah, up to the end of the project, yeah.
So they blacktop second, all the way up to Fifth?
I don't know how much they're gonna get done, but I think if they're done with that, water and sewer, then
Second,
all
third.
that's left is to subcut from second to the top and concrete and pavement. They've been doing an awful lot of stuff underground for a while now, so it'll go fast once they start doing the surface work.
Right.
And it's gonna look great. If you've seen those lower 2 blocks,
Mhm.
makes a big difference.
I hear the machines at night too, a lot, like well past the 5 o'clock hour.
Oh, for sure.
8 o'clock.
8,
7:30.
eight's pretty regular, yeah.
Mhm.
And that used to be with, an hour and a half of sunlight left, and now it's not. It's in the dark, and they're often in the dark.
Oh, they're still
so,
now.
Yeah, they've been working hard.
Well, do you have anything, Mike?
Well, we talked about maybe a little more information on the North House conversation, and I'll just share with you we'll call it the final draft statement of intent that we came up with our North House partners to describe what it is we're talking about together. North House Folk School and the City of Grand Marais are exploring ways to make their relationship more effective. We hope to create better lines of communication that help coordinate our long-term visions and anticipate and work through community discussions. And we explore options for mutually beneficial improvements in our long-term relationship, including advancing our lease and property agreement and defining a path towards the future. I'm going to just stop with that statement right there. So I think that sums up pretty nicely what we've talked about in our 2 meetings, is how do we get the relationship to work better? What are the things that we wanted to do? And the things that we wanted to do are help coordinate our long-term visions, anticipate and work through community discussions, advance the lease agreement, and talk about the path to the future. We haven't set a next date yet, but I know that one of their board members is in town who's only been on the screen for our meetings, and he's going to be sitting down with me tomorrow and with Ben on Friday, and it'll be nice to actually see that he's a real human being, as he suggested.
Yeah, it's not AI.
Yeah. And next time we meet, I think we'll be digging in on these specific options for mutually beneficial improvements, such as advancing our lease. And as I mentioned last time, their intention is to come in front of you sometime before the end of the year and present some of the work that they've been doing on their long-term vision and get some comment from you on that. So, and I think that's a different method than they've used in the past, and it's appreciated.
Mhm.
So that's where we're at right now. Ben and I are definitely open to course correction or specific direction. If there's something that you need that's different than that, we're all ears. And it doesn't have to be right now.
Right. Anytime.
Yeah. And thanks to all the park staff for the hard work that they put in this last weekend, and congratulations WTIP for 25 years. And I'm sorry it rained on Saturday, but you still threw a great party.
They did a lot of good attendance considering it's
Mhm.
kind of soupy, you know? Could have been a lot different.
Yeah, I just love that this community was out on the hillside, sitting in their chairs with their raincoats on and umbrellas. They're doing it. They're having a party and they're sitting out there and they're gonna listen to music, and that's that.
We're gonna do it.
I love it.
Well, it had cupcakes, I mean, really.
Yeah.
No, it was good. Do we have any status update on what we're gonna do with MinDOT to hold them on these trees? And, well, there's no grass in a lot of spots left,
Weeds.
but,
Brush the weeds.
yeah.
There's been some changes to that, it looks like, if you have noticed, in
Well,
some
people have been
specific
cutting.
properties.
If
People are
you're-
starting to,
If they go out and cut, they'll keep the weeds away, but
it does,
some of these parcels have
I don't have any grass left.
They're gone now, so the weeds have to be pulled and maybe the grass will come back, I don't know.
Well, I reached out to Michael Kallenbeck, who's the assistant district engineer, for some assistance on that question, Tracy. And his last conversation with me was he was going to talk to Ed, the project manager, and get back to me. So I'm hoping that happens quickly.
'Cause, I mean, they have this responsibility. It's more a matter of them getting here to actually do this with you.
The problem for me is that we don't know anything about what they intend to do, and that they didn't do things that we thought would have been what they should have done last year when they had similar warranty issues on landscaping. So there's not a high level of trust that they're going to do a good job this year either.
Yeah.
And just some communication about what
Yeah.
their intentions are would be helpful.
Sure.
And beyond that, a willingness to engage with us in a conversation about what we think is right would also be helpful.
We have a plan B if that doesn't work, because we can't leave a bunch of dead trees and weeds growing.
Well, there's a definite plan B that doesn't matter what happens this year.
Okay.
They're done. The landscape contractor's warranty will be released.
Sure.
Yeah.
And it's our stuff. And then we can do whatever the heck we want with it. And it would be a real shame if after a project like that, MnDOT left us with a pile of dead trees and brush.
Well, I thought they were contracted to leave at the end of this time frame with a live functioning tree.
I agree, but what's the definition of that, and what's MnDOT's judgment going to be about what meets their warranty and what doesn't? I don't know, they haven't talked to me about it, and I've been asking a lot, so.
That should seem a tad black and white and be in writing somewhere in all of the paperwork that we signed off on.
I'm sure there are lots of specifications in MnDOT's contracts about what that means, but if you look at how they dealt with the sod, which was released on the warranty last year, I'm not impressed.
Well, we've said all this time we weren't going to do anything because they were under warranty and we would void a warranty.
Yeah.
But if that means that it's just dumped on us, then we should have taken care of it and not, ended up costing ourselves more money than simply going watering them to better. I mean, it's quite obvious some are really dead.
They're not coming
And
back.
Yeah.
the only clue that I have about their intentions is I do believe they have a plan to replace some of the trees. But how many and which ones and when?
Sure.
It's getting late.
You say the sod,
Plants in the fall.
that's done. That's our grass now. That's our sod.
Well, it's not MnDOT's.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, the company came and watered, you noticed that. We talked about that. We went through that dry spell this summer, and then when it started raining, a truck was up here watering.
That was people watering
No, that wasn't our truck. That was the sod company.
for
Or somebody was watering-
for Fifth Avenue,
Huh?
not for Highway 61.
Oh yeah, they were shooting water all the way along my property.
This
Were they?
year?
Yeah, but it was right before it rained. So they came up and watered, then it rained, and then 2 months before that, it was drier than heck, and nobody was up here. You see, when we needed the water, we didn't get it. Well, yeah, it was, one of those things.
This is an unfortunate
It was the landscape
symptom.
company. It was the landscape company.
We had great communication during the project and planning before the project, but they've moved on to other
There are other
projects.
projects. Yeah.
I think they were watering the trees is what they were doing.
Probably,
Yeah.
yeah, and too little too late,
Too little too late, right, like 2 months too late.
a year and a half too
A
late.
year and a half too.
They're gone.
Okay, yeah, well, we'll have to see what comes out of it, and then we'll just have to take it into our
Let's get
hands
some
and
trees.
take care of it.
Yeah, and there's some amount of attrition we just expect. Trees
Right.
don't survive forever in the streets, some of them don't survive very long.
Right.
That's just to be expected, but this isn't in a great spot.
Right.
No, it's not.
Yeah, nobody leave after you adjourn, we got one more task for you.
Yeah. So we are done? Is that everything? Did you have some more things?
Nope, that's